Yo, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and today we're going to discuss the difference between religious celibacy and spiritual celibacy. Now, before we get into this discussion, I want to first go ahead and let you know that my perspective is not coming from just a biblical standpoint or any of the Abrahamic religion, but this is a worldwide, more of a spiritual aspect of it, incorporating a lot of Tantra and chakra systems. So if that is something that turns you off, you may already be in disagreement of this, but please still have a listening ear and an open mind, because even in the canon of what you believe, I know that you will find some very good information concerning this, and maybe even enlighten you a little bit more on your level of celibacy and how you can increase the potency and the importance of it. Now, if the parts that you don't agree with, you don't agree, that's fine. Take what you need and keep it going. But in the comments, I definitely want everybody to tell me what they think about it and what their concepts, and if this has helped you any at all. And if you'd like to continue to support this channel, just support me at patreon.com/Coach Renz. So here we go. First, let's break down what the differences are. What it is. Celibacy in most people's mindset is just abstaining from the physical acts of sex. And that's usually what religion has taught people, that in order to have God bless your marriage, or to have God bless your union, or to be in line with the Creator when it comes to your relationship, that you have to physically abstain from having sex with another person. But what I want to show you is that even if you physically abstain from having sex with the other person because you don't want to create soul ties, because you want to maintain that good standing sexually as far as you and your relationship with the Creator, I want to show you how, even though you may not do it in that aspect, you're breaking your spiritual celibacy. And what is spiritual celibacy in truth? In truth, spiritual celibacy is the giving of your energy and your spirit to another person. Now, most people would think that only happens with sex, with the actual physical aspects of sex. And let's talk about that. How does that happen? Physically, when you have sex with someone and the male and female are inserted within one another, people say you're creating the soul tie at that moment, that you're creating the connection with one another at that moment. That during that process that you're joining one with another. But if that was so, then how is it that so many, and is in general, this is a generalization, that so many men can have sex with a woman but not be emotionally or energetically connected to that woman, and stay emotionally or energetically connected to that woman? Now, we will easily push that off and say that, well, he compartmentalizes everything, and therefore he's able to have sex, make love to a woman without the physical or the emotional or energetic connection. But generally, women have to have an emotional tie to a man. But there are some certain things that happen that people may not realize. You see, when you have an orgasm and the man ejaculates, or the woman has the orgasm, generally there's a few things that are going on. There is a certain breath that is going on between the two people. There is a certain push of energy that the man pushes out into the woman and leaves himself there. People like to say he's leaving his seed, he's leaving his essence. He's pushing his sacral energy into that woman. But that's all he's pushing, is sacral energy, sexual energy, lustful energy. That's all. That's the only energy that's being pushed into the woman, which is why sometimes it does not feel like love. It does not feel like that true bonded connection, because the energy he pushed into her is not a loving energy from his heart, but is an energy from either his power chakra or an energy from his sacral chakra. And he's pushing that into her. Whereas with women, when they have the orgasm, they're usually pushing heart energy into the man. Usually, not all. There are women who do not. But they're usually pushing heart energy into the man. So when we talk about celibacy and the pushing of energy, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been with somebody and you kissed them? You kissed them incredibly deeply. You held the back of their head. You held them on their back right where their heart matches up. You embrace them tightly and push your pelvic area and your abdominal area and your chest area against one another, and you're breathing you're breathing together with one another while you're kissing. Well, that breathing together and that deep connection of energy of points in the body is creating a connection, and you felt it. That's why you said that kiss was so passionate. That kiss had a lot in it. You felt something in that kiss because you felt that energy transference. And so it may not be as strong as the intercourse transference, but you begin to feel it. And the more you do it, the more you kiss like that, the more you embrace like that, the more you connect with one another. The more you connect. Let me give you a non-sexual example. And I've said this many times before in many other videos, that when my children were born, I laid each one of them heart to heart on my chest, skin to skin. I breathed with them. And the entire time I'm thinking of the connection that I desire to have with my children. And to this day, me and my children have great emotional and energetic connections. Now, my kid's mother did not do this with our first child because she thought I was crazy. She thought I was, in her words, I was loony toony and oofty nagoofty for saying that kind of thing back then in 1995. But then when she saw the bond between me and my oldest daughter, when she was like 2, 3, 4 years old, of course, when the next child was born, she then participated in those activities because she recognized the transference of heart energy had occurred. And with her, now with those children, she has a stronger bond than she did with the older one at the same age stages. But she's, I taught her some other things to connect with the older child on a spiritual level and emotional level later. That happens with children, with parents and their child. Does not say the same thing can happen between adults. Something as simple as holding hands with one another, there is a smaller chakra in your hands. That chakra rotates energy, and when you hold hand to hand in a loving manner and you're thinking loving, passionate, caring thoughts, you're transferring that energy as well. So when I say that there is a religious celibacy, the religious celibacy focuses in on the physical act. And that physical act has originally been designed to hold women accountable, but not men. Let's look at some of the writings of all times. In every book, in every writing, it is always the chastity of the woman that is at stake. Never does the man find himself in trouble for breaking his chastity. The only example that immediately comes to mind is Solomon, when he broke and he had 300 wives and 900 concubines, or whatever the number, 700 concubines, and he broke it. But it was mainly because he started worshiping their gods, is how that narrative goes. There's David, but even when David slept with Bathsheba, it still became a blessing out of it. And it wasn't the man. David didn't get blamed. But let's look at Hagar. What happens to her? She gets cast out into the desert. True, the same God that came to Abraham came to her, but she gets cast out into the desert. Look at how Lot's daughters were looked down upon. It's always the woman. Look how the woman was dragged into the street and said that she committed adultery. Well, where's the guy? Where's the dude? Where's he at? We got to ask that question. It's because these ideas of chastity and physical celibacy are only held accountable to the woman. When it talked about young virgins in the Old Testament, it was always talking about women. And talked about young virgins in the New Testament, it's talking about women. When we talk about it in the Vedics or in the Bhagavad Gita, it's talking about women. It never talks about men. It never talks about men being virgins. It never talks about men saving themselves till marriages. It's always the woman that must save herself for marriage. Now, some people are going to go into the man being first and the woman and all that kind of stuff, but no, it's really just men holding down women. So the physical chastity, the physical connections, the physical celibacy is really about the woman when it comes to most of your more current religions. But when you go into ancient religions, it was about both. It was about the spiritual celibacy of both. You see, the reason why the man is tolerated because the man generally can have sex with many other women. There were others who had sex with prostitutes and different women and that sort of thing, but they never created that physical connection. You remember, I think Jacob just wanted Rachel, or he wanted one of them, Leah or Rachel. I forget which. I think he wanted Rachel, but he wound up with Leah, or vice versa. But he knew where his heart was. He knew where his heart was, and that's the spiritual celibacy. Is not giving of your heart energy, not giving of your sacral and your power energy, definitely not giving of your thought, your throat energy, your third eye, your crown energy to another person unless they are deemed somebody that you want to have that connection with. Let me break it down like this in more modern terms. We have people like Napoleon Hill. Many people know him from Think and Grow Rich. But if you read more of his books, you'll understand that he consistently talked about the mastermind that is done between the husband and the wife. And in that mastermind, he's talking about sexual transmutation of energy. That means he's saying that you transmute your sexual energies up through your heart chakra, through your throat, into your third eye, so that you can be creative and do business and mastermind your lives in order to create life, to create great things in life, to utilize all the laws of attraction in your relationship, which, by the way, a little plug, the next video will be about law of attraction in your relationship. But he talks about that and how all these rich people that he studied understood that. So when you are like a person like me, I studied Tantra since I was 21 years old. And in studying Tantra, you understand how not to give your energy while doing this, committed to this sexual activity, right? Now, initially, many men understand this only for the sole reason of not losing their erection, but being able to have the orgasm at the same time. But the true nature of it is not giving your energy to the person that you're with in order to maintain a spiritual celibacy, to not give your life essence, to not, in the Hindu, to not give your prana away to someone else who may not be deserving, to keep your life force with you. The Egyptians, the Ankh was not only representing everlasting life of the woman's womb, but it is also the Egyptian priests and priestesses used to practice Ankhing their sexual energy in order to maintain it within themselves. Now, when you study Tantra, you understand that you can do, when a couple has dedicated themselves to one another, that you ankh that energy, or you heart hold that energy and share each other's energy with each other, thereby breaking the spiritual celibacy, because now you're giving your heart, throat, third eye, and crown chakra energy to one another, which the heart, throat, third eye, and crown represents the spiritual ascension, while the heart down to the power, solar plexus, the sacral, and the foundation chakra represents the physical entity of the person. This religious celibacy is giving of the spirit, the physical energy of the person, whereas the spiritual is giving of the energetic, the consciousness, the spirit of the person. So that is the difference between it. And even though unknowingly many men and some women are remaining spiritually celibate because they're not giving their spiritual energy to the person when they have sex, many women are not able to do this because of the emotions that are connected to the physical act of sex. This may not be in agreement with you. You may look at this and say that that's a bunch of hogwash so that you can have sex without having any guilt. Well, because I believe in the opening of all my chakras, and because your power chakra is blocked by guilt, your sacral chakra is blocked by guilt, I have no guilt. There is nothing for me to be guilty about, because going into any relationship, going into any sexual encounters, it is well established that if I'm trying to build a committed relationship, or are we just two adults looking for physical pleasure during this time frame, is very apparent. Now, in a relationship, should you be looking to create that mastermind with someone? You should. I believe you should. I believe that when the right person is in your life, and it takes time to figure out if the person is the right person, and it may take a year, 2 years, I don't know how long, it depends, but it takes time. And as you realize that, the sharing of the sexual energy, sharing of your heart energy, sharing of your throat energy, which is creative and communicative, sharing of your third eye, which is vision and creating and connecting and realizing that we are all connected, and sharing your crown energy, that is your God realized energy, that is something that you should hold sacred, that you should not just give away, but to experience the physical of your power, your heart power, sacral, and your foundational chakras. If left pent up, if a person is practicing physical celibacy, then that energy becomes pent up. And just like any energy that's pent up behind a dam at one point is going to explode, is going to burst. This is why there are many groups out there. I was a part of one group because a friend of mine wanted me to impart some of my relationship advice in this group, but I recognized very quickly that many of the people who claim to be spiritual were advancing their relationships on a very quick pace merely so that they can release their sexual energy, the physical level of their sexual energy. And that's what they wanted to release, which ended in many divorces. Many divorces are in the religious organizations, all of them, simply because people rushed into a relationship to satisfy that physical block, to satisfy that physical need, to satisfy unblocking their lower chakras. When if they understood how to allow their lower chakras to flow, but without giving their spiritual chakras, then the person would be able to still remain unclouded and figure out whether or not that relationship is worth having, that relationship is worth giving more of their spiritual essence. You see, many people are going to say now that, well, the reason why you want to practice celibacy so that you don't be clouded by the act of sex in deciding if this relationship is for you or not. But the rub on that is, if you get engaged, then the engagement will cloud your judgment on whether this relationship is good or not, because many people get engaged quickly but started to see red flags after the engagement because people's personalities can change once they think that they have you. Many people will become clouded because of finances. Do they have finances? If they have them, then maybe I'm clouded because I see the finance, so I overlook these other things. Maybe if they're romantic, I overlook the other red flags because I see the romance. Maybe they're caring, they're loving, they talk to me, they do all these different things. She cooks very well, she dresses very well. There are many other things that could cloud you. And yes, physical sex can be clouded, but if the emotional is minimized, if the heart energy is downward and not upward, if that is happening, then you can remain unclouded. It is not for everyone, and I get it. But it's more important for me to remain spiritually celibate than physically celibate, which is the religious celibacy versus the spiritual celibacy. I hope that this encourages a lot of conversation down below. I hope you guys engage one another in conversation about this and express your thoughts and your beliefs in it. I never claim to know everything. So you guys have a great day. Support me on patreon.com /Coach Renz. And if you want one-on-one coaching or relationship coaching, then just contact me at masteringyu, the number 10 at gmail.com, or find me on my website or Facebook page, coachrenz.com, or Facebook Coach Renz, Coach Renz 33. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Remember to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable.